So Unit 7 is moving toward you gather your own sources, you create your own works cited, and you decide your topic to craft an argument about. So up until this point, I've given you model essays from the textbook. And like you wrote for Unit 6, you wrote about terror and torture because I had curated those sources for you. I wrote the works cited for you, and you just used that. So that was kind of a step leading to this. Now you get to choose a topic that you're interested in and write an argument based on it, but then you're going to find your own sources. So let's walk through the topic choices for Unit 7. There are 4, and they kind of build in their scope. So number 1 says choose a topic that has a direct impact on your life and take a stand. So if you think about you are a college student right now. And so what are some of the issues that you could write about in which you could take a stand on? College admissions requirements, speed limits, collegiate athletics, social media, cost of education. A really good hot topic right now is schools waiving minimum requirements on tests like the ACT. Like you could find all kinds of information on that. And so you could take a stand on it that, yes, that's a great thing and universities should have done this long ago. Or you could say, no, that's not such a good thing because we still need that system of creating competitive scholarships in colleges and universities. So that would be something that's on a personal level. Secondly, you could choose a topic that relates to a state political or state politics and take a stand. So think about it at the state level. What are some issues going on in Kentucky? Maybe about campaign contributions, primaries, mail-in voting, term limits, or you could even talk about things in the House of Representatives within Kentucky. Or ratchet that up to number 3, choose a topic that relates to national issues and take a stand. Obviously, we're in a political climate where there are so many topics that you could write a good argument about. Required ID cards, mandatory sentencing. That idea of mandatory sentencing is like if you're caught with a certain schedule of drugs or narcotics, then there's an absolute mandatory sentence of 5 years or 10 years. Do you think that's fair? Or do you think that each case should be judged on its individual merits? Maybe there were mitigating circumstances where someone was caught with drugs. Universal health care, not university health care. So universal health care, Social Security reform, welfare. Here's a hot topic, the Electoral College. And you might want to write about that if that's something that interests you right now, especially as we're facing recounts in several states. Or 4, take it international. Choose a topic that relates to an international relation and take a stand. For example, global warming, the International Monetary Fund, United Nations, NATO, peacekeeping, free trade, or like we did in Unit 6, terrorism. So it has to be a topic on which you take a stand, and a reasonable person might read it and say, well, you know what, I don't agree with your position. You're going to have to convince me. And so your task as a writer this time is to take a stand and convince the reader to at least agree in part with you on your topic. So go to campbellsville.edu. From the top menu, you're going to go to Students and Library. It's going to take you to the Montgomery Library at Campbellsville University. You have access to this because you are a paid student here at Campbellsville University. So once you get to the Montgomery Library page, you can just scroll down to where it says Campbellsville University Search, and that's going to take you to their subscription databases. Obviously, you have to put in user credentials because not just everyone can have access to these. You have access to it because you're a tuition-paying student here. Once you figure out your ID number and your PIN, and again, I can help you troubleshoot that today so that you can get logged in. You click Log In, and it's going to take you to a page that looks very much like the Kentucky Virtual Library that you're accustomed to. So it's using EBSCOhost search. Our learning target for this unit is to be able to effectively use an advanced search. So I would select advanced search, and that's going to allow you to narrow your search just a little bit. So let's say, for example, you were going to do Electoral College. And I would begin with just a generic search of putting in those terms to see what happens. I get 16,668 hits. Okay, that's way too many. So then you've got to go back in and find a way that I can narrow this search. The first thing that I would recommend is in the select a field, we want to search for articles where that's actually mentioned in the title, because there's a greater chance that it's going to be more about the Electoral College if it's actually mentioned in the title. And I want to specifically write about Kentucky. If I search now from 16,668 hits, I go down to 4. Much more manageable, right? Another one of the things that you'll want to make sure that you have checked is full text. If you get something that's called an abstract is just a summary of a source. You can't cite an abstract. You have to cite the full text. There is a full text finder there. There's an HTML full text for the 2016 election results, and it gives me the article here. Remember, the really cool thing about using Virtual Library is underneath the tools on the right-hand side, you click Cite, and scroll down. We are using MLA format. There's the works cited. All I have to do is copy that and go into my paper. Paste it. Break the formatting. And the work is done. Now remember, I mentioned this in Essay 6. You need that second line indented. If I just hit Tab, notice what it does, not what I need it to do. So if I put my cursor in front of the second line, I'm going to hit Enter. Nothing happened. What it is doing is it's telling us, the computer, that I'm dividing these lines. And then I hit Tab, it will only indent the second line. That's called a hanging indent. Someone next year in college will send me an email saying, Mr. Dodson, I forgot how to do a hanging indent. Or you won't even know what it's called, a hanging indent. You'll say, I forgot how to move the second line over. And I'll say, hit Enter first. So that's one of those little tricks that's pretty minuscule, but if you don't know the word hanging indent, it's hard to Google it and find it. So that's how you do it. And then when you hit Enter, backspace over, and you'll do your next entry there. Remember, works cited have to be in alphabetical order. So here's what I would do if I were you. I would go ahead and open up a document and entitle it Essay 7 and get started on my MLA formatting. So remember, you do your name, my name, title of the course, the due date for the summative draft, which is what? And you do it in inverted order with no commas. I'm going to center my title, then back to left justification for the text. I'm going to insert page number. I'm going to choose the upper right-hand corner. I'm going to put my last name in front of it with a space. Make sure that it matches the font. Click out of that. And then my paper's ready to go. So this week, I would be gathering sources, and I would go ahead and build that works cited. So I would find those 5 things that I'm going to use from the virtual library. Now, you might want to print this. If you want to print the source, you can save it to your computer, or another thing that you can do is just copy and paste it into a Google Doc so that you've got it saved in your Google Drive. So somehow that you can access that, you will want to save it. You can also add it to a folder, so long as you're logged in, you can go back to your folder and find sources that you've selected and flagged.